So this thing here, it's not at all a complete description of how English plural works, but for the purpose of this video, let's leave it now. Like, let's just pretend that we're happy with our pattern matching for regular nouns. And let's move on to what can we do next. So one thing, we have these no linearization of AdjCN and AdjCN. So we're going to get to it because without these, like this grammar cannot actually make any sentences because there is no way to create a noun phrase because we have commented at this. But before that, let's tackle the rest of these categories. So yeah, let's just do that. So here we had the current lincats, and we see that so everything except the noun categories are just a record with one string, and we want to change it eventually, but just not in this video. But let's say that, okay, we want to be prepared that they will be changed eventually. So now the question is, which categories are actually okay to remain just as single strings? Which ones don't inflect? Those we can keep this way, and the rest we can just give them synonyms here so that it's easier to change them when the time comes. Okay, so now we're just doing actual English. In other videos, I have some like hypothetical English that has some features. We pretend it has some features that it doesn't have. But yeah, let's say this one is actual English. So, okay, adjectives, do they inflect? The house is blue. The houses are blue. So yeah, no, it doesn't. So actually, adjective is good to be just a string. Yeah, prepositions, that's the same thing. Like, you know, in the house, in the houses. So nothing strange there. But verbs and V2, yes. So I jump, he, she, they jumps. No, actually, they jump, but he, she jumps. I jump. So here we do need some kind of inflection. Let's just create some structure in this resource module. Let's put some comments, like nouns, verbs. So we want to change this type. Let's call it, again, V and V2 are the names of the cats and lincats. So the convention is that these like these types here are called something like not the abbreviation. So we call it verb type. Okay, so now what do we actually need? We need some kind of inflection table from something to string. And what could that be? So it's an agreement. So it's not really number, because you see that, like, in every other verb except for the verb to be, it's just singular third that is different. But then for actually the verb to be, it's also the first person singular is different. So it's I am, you are, he, she is, and so forth. But actually, so since we're not going to touch this in this video, let's just keep this as some kind of comment to ourselves and just make like just a shorthand. Verb is just a record with a single string, because like what happens now, we're going to replace these with verb. And now when the time comes that we want to end, and we want to actually change these, and then the only place we need to change is here. And so we're going to also add it here. V v2 verb. So now like thanks to this, we have added this in 3 places. So instead of having to change it in 3 places, we only need to change it in 1 place. Yeah. Actually, well, we can already say that this verb phrase also needs to be in this category. So let's just add that there as well. Like so far, this is just a single record with a single string, but it's there for future. This is more future-proof now. We can change it in just 1 place. Okay. So now nothing has changed in the constructors, but we just made this naming much nicer. Yeah, and well, the rest can actually adjectives, adverbs, prepositions. They can be just single strings in the final version. But pronouns, actually, here we have something very important we haven't touched in this video. It's that they inflect in case. So I, me, he, him, she, her, they, them. So this is something we're going to have to change at some point. Let's put it pronouns and add a type for it. So again, since we're not going to deal with it right now, just later, we're going to have it just a single string, but let's add a note to future me to do add case in the inflection table. So in future it's going to look like this, case to string, and also we have to define the parameter for case. But we're going to ignore this for now. And here we're going to call this pronoun, and also we're going to change it here. The lincat for pron is pronoun with a capital P. Okay, great. So now we've written a lot of code without compiling, so it's high time to see that this works. So let's see, resource module, yay, it compiles. I'm super not expecting things to compile when I add so many things. Like I'm literally honestly surprised by this. Yay, syntax error. Yeah, I mean that's more like it. That's more like it. Okay, 29, column 7. It's there. You see here in the bottom, line 29, column 7. So okay, what's wrong with just an N? Well, let's look at the previous line. We're missing a semicolon here. So let's add this. Yay, now it works. And still warning, no linearization of AdjCN and AdjCN. But yeah, that's to be expected. Yeah, so now, okay, so if we want these to work, let's start from AdjCN, because that's a CN to CN. So we don't need to make any changes, we just need to retain some things. So we had this expression that just concatenated a string to a string. So we have 2 problems here. If we now compile this and we're getting an actual error, let's look at the error. Yeah, type of cn.s, expected string, inferred number to string. Yeah. So the first thing is that we cannot concatenate a string with a table. We need to choose something out of the table. So let's try just see if this would make it work. I mean, this is just a first fix. Like, I mean, this is not the real thing, but just trying to understand the problem. Will this help? Okay, so now we're getting actually. So this is type of type of this whole expression here. Expected inflection table number to string, inferred string. So yeah, this is indeed a string. But if we look at the type of CN, which is, type of CN is this thing here. It's an inflection table from number to string, and this is just a string. So this is not a valid thing to, like, this is not a valid CN. So we need to put a table here. And now what do we put here? So we can do this SG, choose the SG, and PL, choose the plural here. So does this work now? Yeah, it works. Okay, and now we can change this, since again we're not doing anything different we're not choosing any different strings here based on this parameter, so we can just use the shorthand version. We can call this a variable. Let's call it num for number. Okay, and yeah, still works. So now it's just no linearization of that CN.